guys, welcome back to the Capitalist Lounge here in gorgeous Vero Beach. I'm with a very special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself, special guest?
Sure. My name is David Stevens. I'm with Lambert Commercial Real Estate here in Vero Beach, Florida.
Yeah, so David has generously decided to come and join us today, and per usual, we're going to start off making ourselves a yummy little drink. And today, we're giving a nod to all of our fellow coffee lovers out there, sober, non-drinking friends, those who just need a little more energy in your day. And I feel like this is super appropriate because we were just talking about there was a special blue moon. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think it was a blue moon, which caused the king tide to come in.
Yes, which when you live in a beach town is actually a big deal. We do things like track tides and, care about weather systems, etc.
Yep.
So anyways, everybody is extra tired from all of the full moon shenanigans last night. Pets not sleeping, children not sleeping. So David is a couple of coffees behind. We got to get him caught up here. So today we are making s'more coffees. Not sponsored by S'more or Hershey, unfortunately. But Hershey's, call me. So, all right, I don't know. Do you want to add any? We have just like nut milk here. Coffee is pre-made. All right, we'll put those over on your side.
All right.
We have a selection of, I got this box for like 4th of July, and now I find it's like super handy. We have a bunch of different types of coffee. If you
Trader Joe's dark chocolate.
And also,
So good.
this is from Uganda.
Wow.
85%. What is that one?
This, I believe, is, what does it say? And it has 70 milligrams of caffeine per bar.
So you might spontaneously combust, but
Yes.
It could be the best thing ever. All right, and this is also 73% cacao, organic, dark chocolate. So yeah, coffee's ready to go. I am not a black coffee drinker if I can help it. You drink yours plain?
I normally do, traditionally.
Yes. You're really throwing us a bone by putting any kind of fanciness in here.
Do you have a muddler?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, we do.
Nice.
Don't we?
Somewhere.
No? One of these
No.
devices?
You know what? This
Can you use
will.
this?
Yeah, this will work.
Okay.
This will be great.
All right.
Just trying to.
All right. I'm going to try this fruity, full flavored from Western Uganda. We actually have a girl who works for us in Uganda.
Really?
Yes. She says they grow a lot of coffee there, actually. Ugandan coffee is supposed to be really good. I am making a mess. That's okay.
I have not been to Uganda.
I haven't either, but it's right next to Kenya. So here's your little geography lesson, folks. Right next to Kenya, where they have all those like gorgeous safari preserves and stuff like that. So one of my clients, her whole dream in life is to take us on a safari to see the elephants, which I am fully in favor of. All right, so now we decide how many marshmallows is enough.
Is there a limit? No.
There is not. However many are in the bag,
Wow.
you're free to use.
All right.
As the special guest, you get dibs.
I think 3 is a really good number.
Okay, keeping it simple.
I'm gonna keep it simple, but
We
I
like that.
think that is a good number, just the right amount. And it's,
Symmetrical. The
Symmetrical,
Trinity. It's a
yes.
holy number.
Exactly.
All the things. Okay. It's
I
gonna
should
be
probably
great.
add more. I'm gonna do one more.
Are you?
Yeah.
Really? I'm gonna go over the top here. Because like, when else do you get to do that?
Exactly.
So, just nobody mind the little 5-year-old in me going ham on marshmallows.
Not at all.
Now, did you grow up here in Florida?
I did. I grew up in Central Florida, so
So did you guys do like bonfires and stuff in the fall?
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But the reason being, what caused that was when a hurricane would come in and blow down all the branches, so you'd have to get rid of the branches somehow.
Oh, right.
Naturally.
That's the most environmentally friendly way to do
You
it.
just light it on fire.
Exactly.
Do you want more?
No.
You sure?
Well, I don't know. I feel like it needs to be mounted better on
You
top.
could.
actually,
You could keep stacking.
for like aesthetic purposes. This is like when you're creating graphics, like in our line of work, and then you hand it to somebody else and say, you have to edit this because I may have done too much.
That's
So, all right, excellent. So we have cream, we have chocolate, we have marshmallows. Okay.
There you go.
All right, all the marshmallows needed, excellent. So now I'm gonna need you to put on your special safety glasses for this next portion of the video. All right, everyone at home, please flame things responsibly, all right? We are prepared with actual fire, and David, would you like to go first?
Oh, by all means, ladies first.
Okay. So let's see how toasty we want our schmellows to be. I love really well done marshmallows, actually.
Like burnt.
I
Crisp.
might, light them on fire over the bonfire and then blow them out. That might. I'm just too impatient to like sit there quietly roasting things.
Mm.
Okay.
Nice.
Yay!
My question though is, how are you going to get to your coffee?
I mean,
You're going to need an excavator for that.
maybe I'm just gonna burn myself with a metal straw.
That's great.
So worth it. Maybe it'll start melting down into the mud as we go here. Oh, that looks good. Oh,
Aww.
I was gonna say you didn't have anything on the front end. He's so much more careful than I am.
There we go. Just a little sharp.
A little crisp.
I like it.
Excellent. Yes. Would we call these medium well?
Medium well? Yeah, medium well. I feel like that's a good description. Oh my gosh, it's like caramelized on the side. I mean, that's just perfect.
Looks so good. All right.
Incredible.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy digging.
To the other room. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Morgan Reynolds with Beyond the Trend, and this is Coffee, Cocktails, and Capitalism. If you missed the pre-video portion, you'll know if you've been here before, we always treat our guests to a little mixology lesson in the other bar area here. So today we made coffee s'mores beverages in honor of the fall season. So if you didn't watch that, go back and watch that video so you can see how we got here. All right. Without further ado, I would love to introduce my very special guest today. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the invite.
So David is a good friend and a very successful professional here in Vero Beach. So I'm really excited for what he has to say. So real quick, David, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So my name is David Stevens. I'm a broker with Lambert Commercial Real Estate. We've been in Indian River County for 30 plus years now, and really just trying to help serve the community and complete real estate transactions.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be so cool to have a commercial real estate broker on here. I feel like most people know a good residential real estate broker, but not everybody knows a good commercial real estate broker. And if you are a business owner or you are a property owner, you need to know somebody that you can trust who can kind of give you the 414. And also, I feel like our commercial real estate industry has maybe changed a little bit more over the last 5 to 10 years than previously. So I wanted to kind of dive into all of that with you today. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
All right. So before we dive into like the nitty gritty business stuff, let's get to know you a little bit better. So rapid fire, favorite color?
Green.
Age?
33.
Home of origin?
Currently Vero Beach, Florida.
Okay. Where were you actually born though?
No, not in Vero Beach, Orlando, Florida.
Orlando, Florida.
Yeah.
So a Floridian through and through.
Yep.
And family?
So family, mom is from Connecticut and dad is from California.
Okay. All right. So everybody landed in Florida.
Yep.
And you are married?
Yep. Married with 2 daughters. We've got a 2-year-old and 4-year-old. Love of my lives. They're great. I wake up every single day just thankful for them. It's a fantastic lifestyle. I love having kids and just being able to dive into their life and living life through them, and then having my wife alongside me to do it and to live life with is great.
I know your family, and
Yeah.
they're fabulous. So I concur. I can back up everything that he's saying.
Yeah.
And you recently adopted 2 new little ones.
Yeah, we did. 2 little fur babies. They're fantastic. So we decided one day to kill some time while we were down in Fort Pierce. We were at the courthouse getting into the passports for our 2 little ones.
Okay.
And they recently have opened these cat cafes.
Yes.
There wasn't one around us at the time, and our daughter was dying to pet some felines.
Right.
And so we decided, we're like, oh, well, let's take him to an animal shelter, and it'll be free. That's a great idea. Yeah.
In theory, that's a great idea.
It's a great idea if you want to go home with 2 of them. So we ended up walking out with 2 little kittens, and they were fantastic, and they've just been great. So they've been now adopted into our family, and they've been fantastic. So
that's so cute.
yeah.
All right. So you are currently a cat man.
You could call me that. Yeah.
We'll cut that out. It's okay.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right. Cool. So I want to hear a little bit about how you kind of got into commercial real estate, because that's not where you started in your career. And when you were younger or in college, did you ever think like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do?
Oh, a little bit. I always saw real estate as an interesting career path. Never really had too much thought into the career though. My main focus was hospitality at the time. I loved it. My family was in hospitality from every aspect, in marketing, business development, and I knew that I wanted to become a part of that as well. I think naturally I just was kind of going down that road. And so I jumped on board with Chick-Fil-A at the time and worked for the company for 7.5 years, doing grand openings, working for multiple operators in the Central Florida market. Worked for corporate a little bit doing grand openings, and had a great time doing it. Met some amazing people, had great experiences. And then at that time, then I kind of jumped ship and I went to Disney. And I was in a Bible study at that time and ended up talking with one of my Bible study leaders, and they kept on telling me like, oh, David, you really need to be in real estate. Like, that is just who you are.
Interesting.
So I was like, no, I'm not ready for that. I'm in hospitality. That's what I want to do. I love hospitality. And so sure enough, we had Riley, our firstborn. And then shortly after, something clicked, and it just set me on the expectation of, do I want to work for a corporate lifestyle and for a corporate environment that is going to take 70 hours of my work week? And I just couldn't. I literally was like, gosh, I don't want to give this to my family. I want to give my family my time. And so I decided, I was like, you know what, let me try to figure this out. And I really just prayed through it and realized, okay, really quick, this is not what I want to be, and this is not who I want to be. I want to be there with my kids during soccer practice, taking my daughter to ballet recitals. Yeah. And I couldn't do that working for Disney. And not anything wrong with anybody that does either. I think that that's great, but it just wasn't my cup of tea or coffee for that matter. So I literally was praying through it, and believe it or not, that next week my Bible study leader came up to me, and they were like, David, listen, you need to meet Ron Lambert. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe this is the step I need to take. And so I took Ron out to lunch with his son, Kevin, and they said, yeah, we'd love to have you on board. You need your real estate license. And I said, oh, yeah, I guess that is true.
Minor detail.
But I was able to go through that process, studied for the real estate exam, sat for my license, passed the test, and the rest was history. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So it sounds like there were really some influential people along the way who kind of helped give you a little nudge when you needed it.
Absolutely. My wife being my main cheerleader and encourager. Like, she had continued to push me to pursue that risk and to pursue that career.
Yeah.
And we really felt like that was going to be the best fit path. So we decided to take that jump, take that leap of faith, and make it happen.
Because it is, correct me if I'm wrong, but like you kind of are starting from scratch then.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, to some extent. I mean, hospitality, when I was in hospitality, it gives you such a foundation and a very, like, structured foundation of how to treat people. And with
that's
Chick-fil-A
true.
and
Yeah.
Disney, like, I mean, what?
Like two of the most service-oriented organizations on
Absolutely.
the planet. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was fantastic. I had no idea what I had in store for my future when I was in my early 20s when I stepped into hospitality, but then I realized really quick, oh wow, like this transcends into your future careers. It transcends into your future relationships and how you treat people
Right.
with honor, dignity, respect. It's the golden rule. You treat others how you want to be treated,
Right.
and you live by it. You don't just act it.
Right.
So
Well, I would say if you were able to be with Chick-fil-A for 7.5 years, like that really does have to become a part of you. You can't just kind of like fake it. It's not
Yeah.
like it was a 1 year, one and done type of gig.
yeah.
So you probably had some trials along the way where you really were tested to keep true to the customer is always right and
Absolutely.
all that kind of stuff.
No, it definitely was, and it was one of those things where you'd have hardships, and you'd have those long days, and I think everybody gets to that point in their career where you wonder, kind of, am I in the right career? Do I really want to do this for the rest of my life? And it just really made I don't know. I think I got to the point where that's why I never wanted to leave hospitality, was because I loved, one, what I was doing, the impact I was making, and the people that I got to interact with. And I found that I could do that in real estate just by a different skill set.
Right.
It wasn't necessarily a leadership driven of checking people in and out of the front desk at Disney's Vero Beach Resort Hotel and Spa. It wasn't leading a team at Chick-fil-A, but it truly is helping people navigate the waters of a commercial real estate transaction.
Yeah.
So,
Well, which I'm sure can be very stressful, and I want to get back to that.
sure.
But tell me a little bit how you met Krista, how you ended up in Vero Beach.
Sure. So we met while we were in college up in Orlando, and she was with this organization that was serving the homeless downtown. And one night, one of my buddies was doing the exact same thing with the same organization, and he had invited me one Friday night. And so I said, yeah, sure, I'd love to check it out, love to, kind of be open to that.
Right.
And so I did. I went down there one Friday night with him, and we had met at Lake Eola, if you're familiar with it. And
I am, actually. Don't they have like a big farmer's market there and stuff?
yeah, so they got a great farmer's
Okay.
market
Yeah, I've
downtown
been
there.
there.
It's a lot of fun. And so we ended up walking in, meeting, and this woman walks through the door, and it happened to be Krista. And she was like, hey, I'm looking for this guy named David, and they were all like, oh, this is David. And she was like, no, David, he's in college. And she's, oh yeah, this is David, he's in college. And so she was like, oh, no, it's not the right David, I gotta go. And so she walked away, came back, and realized that she was actually with our group.
Oh,
and
that's
so it was just
hilarious.
another David in our group that she had met there. And she had actually forgot something where we were meeting, so she ended up leaving to go grab it. And I looked at my best friend and I was like, I don't know what it is, but I swear I'm going to marry that girl.
Did you really?
And I did,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
So I just knew, like, there was just something about it where I call it intuition or whatever it is, but it just clicked. I just knew that I was going to marry that girl. And
They say when you know, you know.
You do. And a couple weeks later, we started talking. I didn't really pursue anything that night. I was like, all right, well, we'll see if this actually happens
We'll
organically.
make it about actually serving the homeless.
Yeah, exactly. So-
Dating for another night. That's okay.
Exactly. But it was a lot of fun, and we had a great time serving the homeless that night. Got to meet a lot of great people and just really serve people where they were at. And we ended up talking a little bit later, and we ended up dating. That led to being engaged and, of course, later being married. And we got married in Orlando, Florida. And then, but through that process, we had come to her hometown in Vero Beach because her family is still here. And
Okay.
we just it was way too small of a town for me to live in. I could not live in little old Vero Beach, Florida. Just
Famous last words.
way too small. Yeah, that was my famous last words. So shortly after a year being married, her father ended up having a heart attack. And he's okay now. He's fine and he's recovered, but we got to the point that it was very clear that we needed to be in Vero Beach. And we wanted to be in Vero Beach at that point. Our shifts and the shifts in our desires had changed too, because we wanted to be around family.
Yeah.
And so we decided, all right, well, let's see if opportunities present themselves. That week they had announced that they were opening a Chick-fil-A in Vero Beach in State Road 60. So I went down and met with the owner, Michael Kelly, of the owner who runs the Vero Beach location here, and met with him, had a great meeting, and he offered me a position on the leadership team. And
Very
so
cool.
that was even before corporate had given me the opportunity to do the grand opening as well.
Okay.
So naturally,
you were already working for Chick-fil-A someplace
I was.
else. Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Yeah.
so I was up in the Orlando market at the time,
Okay.
but doors just opened and I just kept walking through them. So it made sense at that
Yeah.
point. So
That's very cool.
yeah,
You know, you can't always see what's ahead, but like you said, if you're willing to walk through the doors that are opening in front of you,
sure.
you know. So now you're here in Vero, this tiny little small town,
Yep.
and you've made the leap into commercial real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about like your first year or so with Lambert?
So the conversations that I had with Ron and Kevin were in 2019.
Okay.
End of the year 2019. Riley was born in September of 2019. So very quickly I started having those conversations of, is the hospitality industry where I want to be? And so that's what kind of led me into those conversations with Ron and Kevin. I joined Lambert Commercial's team March 1st of 2020. And if anybody remembers what happened March 15th of 2020.
Nobody remembers.
No.
I'm sure no one does.
remembers. But the world shut down. And I thought I made the worst decision of my life. I went, oh my gosh,
That's so scary.
God, what did you lead me into? Like, did I make a wrong decision? Was this the right path that I should have taken?
Right. Yeah.
And so for a couple weeks, couple months there, I was a little nerve-wracked. And luckily we had savings and we wanted to make a strategic jump. But it was still nerve-wracking. And luckily it was the best decision I ever made. By the end of the year, I outperformed what I thought I would. We still had food on the table. It was great. But more importantly than anything, I think that what helped that was that I really focused on patience and persistence, and I didn't let the ball drop. I just kept on going, and I didn't want to give up any ground. I knew that I had to make a difference. I knew that I had to put everything else on the line. So that, in a nutshell, was my first year in commercial real estate. It was nerve-wracking. It was a lot of learning, but ultimately it really paid off well.
Yeah. So can I ask a little, like, what kind of deals were happening, like, in 2020?
I think a lot of people in 2020 became nervous and they became very hesitant at first. They didn't know what was going to happen in the beginning of that year. And no one kind of knew what the future was going to hold. I mean, we were just coming out of a political election. There was a lot of uncertainty with what COVID restrictions were going to be imposed upon businesses and individuals and the states, and what they were going to do and how they were going to take action. But I would say the deals that we saw were people that were either hesitant, that held back, that weren't sure what was going to happen, and business owners as well. They were hesitant to say, well, I don't know if I'm going to be out of business in 6 months. I don't know if I should renew my lease. I don't know if I should buy this property anymore to expand my business, to take that risk.
Right.
By the end of that year, I feel like we had a shift. It changed. And we knew very quickly, okay, life is going to keep on going. We're going to keep on pushing forward. That's who we are.
Yep.
That's humans.
Yep.
And ultimately what happened was it just boomed. Florida started becoming a free state. We started putting more power into the people's hands and giving them the freedoms that other states didn't. And so we saw that with a flood of people starting to move to Vero Beach.
Yeah.
We also had our snowbirds that kind of stayed at home here in Vero too, right?
Yeah.
So that changed our local climate quite a bit.
That is something that's really interesting about Vero that I'm from Chicago, so to me, the whole idea of a snowbird community is kind of obscure, and I kind of forget that that's a thing. And my first couple of summers here were so dead, and places would be closed. I'm like, what is happening? So I still kind of forget that there's so many people who used to be here only from, what is it, October to Easter, basically?
About, yeah. October to Easter.
Yeah, and so now they all moved in, so that changed who was here. And then in the young professionals group, there's actually a good amount of people whose parents lived here or were snowbirds here. And then because of that, if their job was able to be remote, they moved down here. So now you see an influx of younger people that the town didn't have before either.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. So when you're like on your client roster, would you say there's a mix of ages and types of businesses, or do you guys kind of have like a, I don't know what you would call it, like a boilerplate type of client that you work with?
No, I'd say that is, I don't know. We don't have a classic, I don't even know what you call that, like a traditional client mix.
Right.
I would say, if anything, it is fairly diverse. We have anywhere from small blue-collar businesses that need 1,000 square feet of warehouse for carpentry. Or we have somebody that is a doctor out of South Florida that needed to find a location for some of his assets and investments. So it's very complex. I think that when it comes to commercial real estate, when you think about business owners, it's really any and all business owners that we work with. And on top of that, then it's any and all investments that we have that outside of leasing, it's sales, it's procuring buyers for those properties as well. And so we have a very diverse kind of mix of what our clientele look like.
That's great, though.
Yeah.
Would you say that Vero has kind of a balanced mix of types of businesses, or do we kind of lean more heavily into certain sectors in your experience?
I would say that, so Vero, and also speak more specifically about kind of like central southeast coast. So like incorporating, St. Lucie County, Sebastian, all of Indian River County. Really.
Yeah.
I would say that we have a lack of industrial product in our market.
Yeah, that's true.
But we also, I don't know, it's an interesting county to work in. I would say we don't have like a strong focused side of the market. Like if you look at Tampa, right? Tampa is booming right now in their industrial sector.
Oh, interesting.
It's massively exploding.
Well, they have that huge international port, right?
Do.
So that helps.
Correct.
A lot.
Yeah, that's a huge benefit for Tampa, right? They've got the port, they have the rail, they have sky and travel. A lot of people commute into Tampa now, but ultimately that's, so Tampa has a very strong industrial market and sector. Vero is unique. We have a very, I don't know, it's office, retail, medical. We have a lot of different types of sectors of commercial real estate, but ultimately it's fairly diverse.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking about this the other day. Would you say we're kind of heavy on the professional services?
Professional services in regards to, like what do you mean to define that?
Banking, accounting, lawyers.
Yeah, we have,
kind of
we
white
probably
collar office, I guess.
Per capita, yeah, I would say that we have a heavier portion of that business type in our area.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. What is something that you have to take into account in commercial real estate that you don't have to take into account in residential?
Everything.
What? It's not mostly the same?
No, it's quite the contrary.
Also, don't mind me, but as you predicted, my marshmallow situation's a little bit of a challenge here.
Not a problem.
We're going to just work right around that.
There you go. It's the best way to do it. No, I'd say that commercial real estate is like the Wild West.
Okay.
So there is so much more to account for when it comes to commercial real estate than there is residential. You are working with zoning, codes of ordinances, ADA compliance. You're working with previous studies that have been done on the property, whether or not a use could be supported within a building that you're purchasing. There's so much more that is involved in commercial real estate than residential. In residential, not to diminish any bit of what a residential real estate agent goes through, it's just such a different beast. And there's so many other factors that play into what a commercial real estate deal or transaction looks like.
Yeah.
So
one of the things you and I have chatted about a little bit is kind of how being on the coastline and the ever impending hurricane situation can impact basically every aspect of your life, right? You know, everybody is always kind of hedging. You've got extra food stored up, you're worried about flooding at the house. And, my husband has sandbags at his office just in case, always, just on the standby. So again, I'm from Chicago. This is not normal, but
no,
here we are. So Florida has had some changes when it comes to policy and insurance and things like that. Do you want to share a little bit how that's kind of changing things?
Yeah, sure. So we're seeing, I would say, the largest factor in a lot of our transactions that are either causing transactions to fall apart and or people to sell. And it's influencing what people are purchasing right now, is the insurance factor. And what insurance has done, we're really kind of, it's unprecedented what has been seen in the commercial insurance realm. And so no one really knows what's going to happen in the next coming years. We think that there's going to be legislation in place that's going to help offset and correct kind of what is being done. But we're seeing people kind of shift money around, and we're seeing people make different decisions based on how much they're paying in insurance. When you're looking at purchasing a building, when you're looking at insurance for the building, you're usually looking at fire, wind, and liability. Those are your three like insurance
brackets.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And when you take out wind, just wind, you're looking at decreasing your premium by 70%.
Oh my gosh.
And that's just wind. And mind you, that is due to the fact that we are so close to the coast. There's a lot of factors that play into that. However, it's becoming increasingly expensive for a lot of these, owners for their buildings, and some of these business owners that are taking that leap of faith, that are taking the risk to own their own building, and also some of our landlords that make a living on leasing office units and industrial warehouse space. So they're now contemplating the risk and weighing out whether or not they should self-insure their building or do an X-wind policy or fully insure their building and just bite the bullet. So, but what it's doing, and more importantly than anything, it's shifting our market. It's shifting how people are spending their money and where they're putting it and the risks that they're taking. So that's always interesting to watch. We're in commercial real estate, we always say that any movement is good movement. So if we're moving up and our market is increasing, well, then we're probably going to be doing pretty well. If our market's, if we're having a correction within the market, it's probably going to be good as well. There's always going to be buyers. There's always going to be sellers.
Right.
But the second that it becomes stagnant, that's where we get nervous.
Got it.
So
yeah. Well, I guess it's kind of like if you have, it's just about like who your customer is changing, right? Or who is the people who are starting to open up businesses and stuff like that. I was really surprised because I was working a lot with the Chamber of Commerce during COVID. And I was amazed how many people did start businesses. like despite the pandemic. And I know PPP loans helped a lot of people. I know there was, some good small business loans and grants and things like that helped. But yeah, now having to kind of factor in rising insurance costs and things like that, maybe it's just kind of people who are thinking about starting a business might be different than they were like a year ago, type of thing. So,
well, I'd say over the last couple of years, we've had so many new businesses that have opened up. I think that's partially a factor of being in Florida.
Yeah, Florida
has been a great place to be over the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
I'm very thankful to be here.
Right.
And when you talk about a capitalist society, Florida breeds that. And so that traditionally continues to help real estate thrive, specifically commercial real estate.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, absolutely. I think that it's an interesting dynamic, and the place that we are in, obviously that played a huge role.
It's so interesting to me that Florida was kind of like the ugly cousin of California for so long, and then all of a sudden, like, we're popular again.
What do you mean the ugly cousin?
Like, when I was in my younger years, like in college and stuff like that, right? It's like the dream was, to live like the OC lifestyle, right? To move out west, move to California. It's like nobody ever talked about going to Florida. And then when people did go to Florida, it was like, oh, I'm visiting my grandma, or there's alligators, or oh gosh, it's so humid, I hate it, and it's so muggy and mosquitoes. So I don't know, Florida just never kind of had the like, oh, let me go start my young life and explore new horizons type of feel like California had, I feel like, for a really long time. And then all of a sudden, Florida was cool and the happening place to be. And a lot of younger people are moving here. A lot of people that are kind of mid-career from New York, again, when they could work remote or they could move their business with them, I feel like, decided that, oh, yeah, maybe Florida's not so bad. Maybe I could live in Miami instead of in New York or Boston or something like that. So
yeah, we saw a lot of that happen within the commercial real estate sector, where a lot of people moved their businesses from Pennsylvania, New York, California. The amount of people that I've heard that have moved down this way just to open up their doors again, just to have freedom, to come into a market that is, thriving and that's not dead whatsoever. And Florida is one of those places that you can experience that. And I think a lot of people, it opened a lot of people's eyes during COVID. And during those years, I guess they are the COVID years, right?
Unfortunately.
I know, but it opened people to the fact that like life still goes on. We can't continue to shut down. We can't continue to close our doors. We have to live life. And I still hear it to this day. I'm working with multiple of my customers that are escaping California, that are breaking through the walls that New York City is keeping them in, to open up their doors again here in little Vero Beach, Florida. So it's encouraging.
Here we are for such a time as this, right?
Yep, exactly.
Could not have planned it. Do you want to talk a little more specifically about maybe some interesting deals that have gone down, or some things you've perhaps had to overcome along the way for those who are maybe need a little encouragement in their own bumps in the road type of thing?
Yeah, there's, for commercial real estate, well, let's start with residential. For residential real estate, the majority of people that are buying a home, it's their biggest purchase that they ever make. For individuals within commercial real estate, whether you're a business owner or a landlord, more than likely it's your livelihood. And so it's kind of just as important as a residential purchase. And for the people that are purchasing their homes and they're the largest purchase of their life, it's one of those things where you're able to be a part of it and you're able to step in that with them, help them navigate those waters and be able to assist them through that process. I think that, I'm very, very, very thankful that I had that foundation of hospitality, and to go back to that, that was ultimately probably I'm most thankful for that, because I truly do think that you can just about learn any skill set. If you really put your mind to it,
right,
you can do anything. But hospitality really is learned through the process, and it builds that foundation of how to build a relationship with somebody.
Right.
And so when your passion is in that too, and you're able to kind of lean into what that can provide, it will transcend into many different career paths.
Right.
And so I think a lot of my success has been given just due to the fact that I try to treat people with that level of honor, dignity, and respect, and have the foundation of what hospitality provided. And so yes, I'm not assisting somebody with their hotel stay.
Right.
Or
which is also really important.
Yes.
We just got back from a business trip, and let me tell you, we stayed in 3 different hotels in 5 days.
Oh my gosh.
Which is a lot, and I couldn't even tell you what day of the week it is right now, but you notice a remarkable difference in atmosphere every time you walk into a different place. So I think, it's not to be undervalued in any type of industry or business, the customer experience, right? Because people are going to want to work with and come back to and refer businesses and people and teams that they had a positive experience with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You said you're from Chicago.
Yes.
You know where Barrington is?
That's where my parents live now.
Okay, so we were just in Barrington.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's where you guys were?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
So we were in Barrington, loved it, had a great time.
Who were you visiting in Barrington?
My grandmother.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yep. So we were up there, and we were asking a few locals just where to eat in Barrington. And Barrington, as you know, is a small town, right?
I often feel that Vero is very similar to Barrington in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. You've got the train that goes right through the middle of the town.
Right through the heart of everything.
Yep.
Yes. Just random scattered pet horses at people's houses.
Yes, exactly. But great vibe. I love Barrington. I'll definitely go back. It's far enough outside of Chicago where I feel safe.
It's
no, but
how dare you?
sorry.
It's true though, yes.
It is. But Barrington had this restaurant that was to die for. And I'm back in Florida going, oh my gosh, if you're in Barrington, you have to go to this restaurant. It is incredible.
Which restaurant did you go to?
So, Neoteca.
Okay.
Neoteca is by far, I think about like my travels and the restaurants that I've been to throughout the United States. And if I could, I would like scoop that up, put it in Vero Beach, and like it would be the best thing in the world. I mean, we had such a great time that night at Neoteca. The food was amazing. The service was, spectacular. It was incredible. But I still remember that. I still remember like how great it was. And like I'm recommending it to everybody here in Vero Beach that goes up that way. And I'm like, the likelihood that anybody's actually going to go up there and experience it.
You met the right person to encourage to go there. So, but yeah, it's right. People, what's that saying? It's like people won't remember what you say, but they'll remember how you make them feel.
Yes.
So yes, you remembered the feeling of that restaurant, and you wish that you could just recreate it back here at home. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it was great. And I think that that's very similar in real estate. You want somebody that you can trust. You want somebody that you can allow to be a part of one of the largest transactions that you may make in your lifetime. And that's important. And I'm honored that a lot of my customers have that trust with me. And I'm very, very, very thankful that I've been able to meet some great people and be able to be a part of that process with them. And whether it's a small, startup business where somebody's trying to open a new cabinetry shop, or it's an investor that is looking to transition and move some 1031 money from a building that we just sold.
Can you tell me what 1031 money is?
Sure. So that's a great question. So a 1031 transaction is a tax option to where you are able to defer taxes not on the building that you sell, because if you just sold a building, you'd have to pay money on the income that you made from that building.
Right, like your capital gains.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, there's the 1031 option gives you the ability to move that to a like model or a like transaction. So if you buy another building that's income producing for you, you would be able to not write off those taxes, but you'd be able to not pay taxes on the income that you made on that building because you're just moving it into a similar asset.
Got it. Okay.
So, mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many buildings actually trade hands in like a year?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, you kind of feel like, especially in smaller towns, like you kind of know everybody and everybody kind of has the same, like, oh, this guy owns that building and that just kind of is it forever, right? So it's interesting that behind the scenes things are changing hands and shifting around and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. No, it's huge. I mean, it's hundreds just in Vero Beach alone.
No.
And
We don't have that many buildings.
right? You'd think that.
That's crazy.
There's a lot of movement. Well, I say that, but there's been a lot of movement over the last couple of years too.
Okay.
Real estate market has boomed. Like we don't live in the same market we did 3 years ago.
Right.
And so 3 years ago we thought we were crashing, and instead we were off like a rocket. Values have increased by 28-30%.
Wow.
And so your value in property has gone through the roof, and people see that and they want to capitalize on it naturally. But a lot of people have seen that within Florida too, so they are moving their money into Florida. They are not wanting to have their money just sitting in a bank anymore.
Right.
They don't want their government to dictate where their money is going. They would
that
rather
money
have
to
the
work,
control.
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that more people are looking for a solid asset right now, rather than necessarily a 401k. I think that there's a lot of certainty in uncertainty right now because people just don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And being in a political election climate, naturally people don't know if they're...
It goes by so fast, doesn't it? Here we are.
Here we are again. Put on your seatbelt.
It's always tenuous for business, I think
It is.
if people haven't maybe been in a place in their career yet where it's really been affected, there's a lot of businesses and industries that really feel shifts kind of every election season, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that that's naturally legislation moves money. Like that's it's their law is set in place to either help some businesses and not so much others. So naturally, people are going to make decisions based on who's going to be taking office, where they should move their money,
right,
where they should move their family. And I mean, for example, DeSantis just passed that bill a couple months back where they gave the right of the family to choose where they're going to be going to school. Not just the right, but now they're giving you a grant for if you're not putting your child in public school, you have the ability to now use that money that the state would give that public school and put it into a private school.
Interesting.
Yeah. So things like that are driving people's decision on where they're going to be
living and raising their
doing
kids
business.
And absolutely. Yeah.
So that's a huge benefit for a lot of families that are in our town.
I would wonder also if maybe some more schools would pop up, like some new
I think
charter
that's what's
schools
going
or
to happen.
something. Yeah.
So
people are going to see that as an opportunity, I would think.
Absolutely.
You could not pay me enough money to do that, but
to open
to
a
somebody
school?
else, it is their calling. Yeah.
It is.
Oh my gosh, so much paperwork.
Yeah.
Do we want to circle back and chat a little bit about why hurricane insurance has changed
Sure.
so astronomically? Do you want to share with the folks that maybe aren't sitting seaside and don't understand quite the crazy that's happening?
Yeah, I would say that obviously for coastal states, coastal towns, specifically Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, all those, we are experiencing that uptick in insurance costs, primarily because at the end of the day, insurance is a business. They need to make money.
Right.
And they are going to hedge themselves against the loss of money. Because of that, well, we have people that are on our coastal waters that have a higher risk of losing their assets, right? And
well, we
naturally,
had a pretty nasty was it Hurricane Ian?
The West Coast of Florida?
Yeah.
I think
so. They took out like the bridges and everything. So somebody was saying to me that it was going to take the insurance company such a long time to recover from that payout alone, because that was kind of so such a huge payout, so clustered together, right? There's just no space for recovery. And that was kind of close after. Didn't we have somebody before that, another hurricane that kind of hit the panhandle or something?
Hurricane Michael, I think.
Maybe.
Or was it
just
Matthew?
Came really quickly. Matthew was.
Or was it Irma?
We evacuated for Matthew
Dorian.
and Irma and Dorian.
Yep.
Yeah.
We like to evacuate.
Do you?
Yeah.
Are you guys on the evacuation train?
It's kind of like a quick vacation.
Right.
It's like, all right, let's leave the house behind. Now we have to bring the kitties, of course.
Right.
But
it's a full household.
But it's a vacation. You get to go away.
Where do you guys go
and,
normally?
It all depends.
Yeah.
It's it is one of those where we get to kind of like blindly choose on the map. Oh, we're going to Lexington, Kentucky.
Where
Great.
do we think it's not going to head?
Yeah. So no, it really all depends. But we usually will either go to Central Florida, because by the time the hurricane gets to us from the coast, at least,
right.
It's not as bad centrally.
Right. Even up to Orlando, we've gone a few times. It's usually pretty.
It's really not
manageable.
that bad. Yeah, but yeah, we'll sometimes actually go to another state and actually get away and then come back and deal with the matters at home.
It is easier when you have fewer animals.
It is,
because we have 4. So
oh my gosh.
During Dorian, we went up to a friend's house in Savannah, thinking that would be a great idea. And on the way there, at least 2 of our animals escaped their travel container.
Oh, wow.
Like the dog chewed through one, the cat clawed through it. It was a lot. Anyway, so everybody was just loose in the back of the car by the time we arrived. And then by the time Dorian had passed by where we were here, and we were trying to come back down, it had looped around and was coming back to the coastline.
Oh
so we were literally just driving parallel to the hurricane.
Just trying to get away.
Just trying to outrun it, like, the Wizard of Oz or something. So anyways, yeah, I think Kentucky's probably a better bet next time.
Yeah, pretty central.
Yeah.
I would say, though, and to follow back up with the fact that, insurance is ever changing. I think that it will ultimately come to a head, because when I was saying that, a lot of my customers are really just considering and looking at the idea of what self-insuring their building looks like. That is a big deciding factor on where they choose to put their money. And naturally, if they are doing that, well, then insurance companies aren't getting as many clients, and they're not getting as many contracts.
Might be pricing themselves out of the market.
But another thing that factors in that is building costs, right? So if building costs don't change and what value does in our market, there's so many factors that kind of play into that. We could talk days for that and how value is affected within real estate, but ultimately insurance is becoming that biggest factor right now. And so it's kind of more or less I'm always analyzing. We're always gathering data when it comes to commercial real estate and looking at what's going to happen in our market and what's going to change and how it's going to change. We're always looking at pulsing what is actually happening.
Yeah. So interesting.
It is.
You and I could sit and talk for hours about this. I love to think about if you can start to pay attention to some of those outside factors that are influencing whatever industry it is that you're in. If you can catch any of that kind of before it becomes super mainstream, then that can give you a little bit of an advantage in terms of being first to market on something, or, before maybe the cost of goods involved in that industry spikes way up because it becomes super trendy. Yeah. So the more, people can kind of pay attention to that stuff, the better off they'll be, I think.
Absolutely. And I mean, ultimately we're in commercial real estate, we're in sales. That's what we do. We sell, we lease, we buy. The most important thing that we have is information. And we know that. We know that information is power.
Right.
And we want to be the most skilled. When clients come to us, we want to make sure that we have an answer. And when we don't have an answer, we're upfront and honest. We're not going to make something up. We're not going to say, well, fill in the blank. And we just try to fluff a piece.
Yeah.
Instead, we'll find it for you. Like, we'll do the homework. We will dig into it. And we're going to get to know what you may need to know. Like, so there's, I think that that's incredibly important when it comes to commercial real estate and when it comes to selecting a commercial real estate broker. If you're in the market to look for a commercial real estate broker, it's good to interview them, figure out what their specialty is, know how long they've been doing it, how long they've been in the market, what deals they've done, who they've serviced. That's incredibly important because you don't want just anybody handling one of your most important assets through the transaction of purchasing or selling or leasing for a business owner.
Yeah.
So I think that it's incredibly important who you go to. And that's a big piece of why and what we stand on is that integrity model and knowing that we're going to have the best information for you. And when we don't, we are going to find it for you.
Right. So. Willing to do the work to get people all the information to make the best decision.
Exactly.
I read an interesting article the other day where I think it was maybe the New Yorker or something, but somebody did an experiment where they asked Chat GPT and then also an in-person financial advisor to help them plan like a savings plan to get to a certain goal in their 401k or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, for sure. They're like, oh, read on to see which one is the winner. My husband leans over. We're like on a plane. And he's like, are you the person who clicks on those? I was like, yes, I am, because I want to know the answer. So who do you think he chose to be better? The AI or the financial person?
So I think he'd probably choose AI.
He did not.
He didn't. Why?
I know, because I thought so too. I was like, oh, they're just going to show that AI can do it now, right?
That was my guess.
So he said that for speed, obviously, if you just wanted like a quick idea based on the parameters that you put in, the AI was going to be able to do it better, faster. But then when he sat down with the real life financial advisor, they had about like 20 or 30 questions that they asked him that he hadn't thought would have anything to do with the plan that he had, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, the person through their years of experience knew how to ask me about things and factor in, tax options or, other factors in the marketplace that he didn't know to ask the AI program or whatever. So I feel like that's something too that when you're interviewing anybody to help you with your business or career, right? If you, find people that have, a range of experience and things like that, they're just going to have more ideas and options to put in front of you, right?
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that human element, like you said, the expertise behind that. And ChatGPT is designed to gather data, right? But I don't think it's necessarily designed to be the element of the human experience that we desire, right? Like that will never, ChatGPT will never be able to replace quite a few careers. It's there and it will do a good job with data management. I know it's always like one of those things where ChatGPT is going to take over the world.
No, I know, right?
But I don't necessarily think that. I mean, they thought that about the internet too.
Well, even just basic computers, right? Remember when there's some old movie where it's about librarians, like in the 60s or something, and they get their first big computer or whatever. And, machines can do a lot and they can make the job a lot faster. But I think for a very long time, at least, we still need humans to direct those machines.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So there was something else we were going to talk about.
Was there?
Main Street.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, let's talk about Main Street, Vero Beach.
Sure.
So
absolutely.
Our town has a thriving, vintage little Main Street. It's 14th Avenue, for those who don't know. Come check it out. It's very cute. And I joined the board of the Main Street Vero Beach nonprofit organization, which is an organization that advocates for local business interests and then works with and liaises with the government and chambers of commerce, things like that, so that we're helping to bring as much kind of business in whatever aspect that looks like to our downtown community and kind of Vero Beach in general.
Sure.
Right? Is that a fair way to sum it up?
That's a good assessment. Yeah.
So here's what's hilarious. I joined the Vero Beach Main Street Board, and I was like, David really knows a lot about Vero Beach, and he knows kind of all these building owners here on Main Street. Why isn't he on the board helping us make plans and decisions and things like that? And then I came and talked to you about it, and what had already happened.
So I don't know how far back you want me to go.
Well, you could just share you were on it and then you weren't, and
yeah, no,
my
absolutely.
idea was not original, is what I'm getting to.
No, that's fine. No, I had originally joined the board for Main Street, and we had just had Riley at that point, I think, or maybe it was Kenna, and
don't let Krista watch this.
I know.
It was one of them.
It was one of them, but
totally remembers, honey.
Absolutely, like attack,
right?
Sharp as attack. So we were in a very busy state in our lives, and I really got to the point where, if I felt like I wasn't being effective or productive with my time, I feel like it's almost a disservice. And I feel like the exact same way with my clients too, where if I can't serve them well, I want to have that honest conversation with them. Just a quick story, a commercial real estate agent that I met out of South Florida only has 6 customers that he works for. That's it.
Okay.
He's a broker that's been in the industry for 40 plus years.
Wow.
Incredibly well skilled, well versed in commercial real estate. That's all he does. And I asked him why he did that, and he said, "Well, it's because I can service those 6 customers to the best of my ability. I know that if I were to take on more, it would stretch me way too thin, and I just couldn't do it." And so I felt like I was at that point where I just had to take a step back off the board, and I had that conversation, and I chose to remove myself from that position because I just wasn't being as effective as I thought I could be.
Yeah.
So when you had approached me, Kenna is turning 2, and I really sat down and went through my schedule and was really determining whether or not I could actually make that jump, commit that time, and make a difference. So I felt like I did, and I'm now back on the board. So that's great. I know.
Now we get to do it together.
So yeah, Main Street has some interesting things cooking. Do you want to talk a little bit about? There was a very cool meeting on Tuesday.
There was.
That I was supposed to be at, and I was really excited to be there. And then my flight got canceled, and I was stuck in Atlanta. So yeah.
Well, we missed you. It was a productive meeting though. The Buggy Bunch down in Vero Beach held a the panel of Main Street and Piper Aircraft, and we had the ability to bring together the Buggy Bunch, their network.
Right.
So
for those who don't live in Vero Beach, the Buggy Bunch is a nonprofit that is for moms, and they help and assist new moms or moms that are in a tough situation, but then they also just provide community and activities and things like that for anyone who is a mother, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You hit it on the head. Buggy Bunch does a great job with just impacting the lives of families across our county.
Yeah, they're a really positive organization to have here.
They are, and they really make a good impact. So they actually provided us with the meeting space and gave us the platform to discuss what the reimagination of what Pocahontas Park could look like. And I think that Main Street has made some good ground on what that is going to become. And so Piper has come alongside Main Street and pushed forward those efforts to make a difference in making more of a positive and safe and just overall friendly environment that Pocahontas Park, used to be and is going to be even become.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
It is really exciting. It's a very cool time to kind of be involved behind the scenes a little bit, to be able to kind of see people coming together, having these really cool ideas, and then being willing to put in kind of the sweat, blood, sweat, and tears to make it happen. Because we all know, no matter what community you're in, I always say what is it? Big ships turn slowly.
Mm.
So the anytime a community has been around for a while, right, that it can be a little bit of a challenge to start something new or
Sure.
to kind of get a bunch of people with a lot of different ideas on board moving one direction. So I feel like we're kind of finally in a place where enough people have all decided, yep, we're going to focus on this one thing, and they're going to focus on revitalizing the park that's right on 14th Avenue, Pocahontas Park.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Piper Aircraft, which is really cool. And if anybody listening to this doesn't know who they are, please check them out online. It's a small airplane building manufacturing company. They're one of the largest employers here in our community. They have a great track record of helping people kind of build their professional careers, training people from the ground up, hiring and promoting from within. And they made a huge donation to kind of get the ball rolling and provide the monetary needs to get this park project off the ground. So it's very exciting.
It is.
So you guys had a good conversation without me?
We did, yeah. Luckily, we're gonna have a second.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be very productive as well. But
Yeah.
It was interesting to hear some of these 4th, 5th generation Veronians.
That's so cool.
And yeah, they were talking about what the park used to be. And if anybody doesn't know, Pocahontas Park is truly the cornerstone to our downtown.
Yeah.
It really is. And
A lot of stuff happens there.
There
it's
is.
where people meet up for everything.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And it was encouraging to hear the excitement behind and the desires collectively that the community has for the revitalization of Pocahontas Park.
Yeah.
So I do think that there's a lot of hope in it, and I think that you're right. I think that that it is true that big ships turn slowly. I think that is where we live. That's who lives here. But at the end of the day, I think change is good, though. I think change is really good, and it's hard and it's tough, but ultimately, I think that it provides a lot of opportunity. It provides a good, different aspect and a different angle of view. But for Pocahontas Park, there's a lot of different options of what could be there.
Yeah.
So with Piper alongside us, I think there's going to be good change happening.
I'm very excited. So
Absolutely.
We'll have to keep the people posted on that. And we can put some links in the description and things like that there's plans that are being rolled out, kind of some preliminary design ideas and stuff if people want to check that out. And if people want to subscribe to Main Street, they should get emails when there's, kind of town gatherings where we're going to be talking about this with larger and larger groups of people. So
Sure, absolutely.
is there anything that you want to share from a commercial real estate perspective about the downtown area?
I think that, when it comes to just hitting on that same topic of the fact that like change is good, right? And change is inevitable. It's one of those things where we kind of step into change with uncertainty, not knowing. We try to assess as much as we can prior to change happening sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes change happens before we can even assess anything.
Right.
And we just have to roll with it.
Right.
I think more importantly than anything, though, with change, it's all about how we position ourselves in order to accept change. Because it's inevitable, it's one of those things, especially within our community, we can address it by just shutting our doors, throwing away the key, and just being a hermit the entire time.
Yeah.
Or we can embrace it and we can let the light in, let it shine, and make a difference in our community.
Yeah.
I think with commercial real estate, we see that change before it actually happens. And so we're kind of always on the cuff of knowing, okay, this is coming down the pipe. How are we going to position ourselves well to address that? And whether that's the DOT changing the traffic lanes and widening traffic, and or putting in the I-95 corridor, breaking ground August 17th months ago, or putting in a roundabout up on 85th and 512.
Oh, yeah.
Or 85th and 66. Like, that's going to be huge.
People have some things to say about that.
They do. And that's fine. And that's okay, because I think that we are a very diverse group of individuals that come together and hopefully can better the future from where we are.
Yeah.
So I think that within commercial real estate, it's exciting because I get to kind of get to see the front
Right.
of that.
Yeah.
So,
See it coming down the pipeline, like you
Exactly.
said. So that is very cool. I want people to be able to reach you and find you and ask you all their commercial real estate related questions. So
Yeah.
where can they contact you?
sure. So you can either reach me at my office, so Lambert Commercial Real Estate. So you can call our office, and or if you want to call me directly on my cell, 772-205-9744
Look
is
at
my
that.
direct cell. So,
Super available.
Yeah,
We like
absolutely.
it. Yes.
of course.
All right. Probably they could also find you social media.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram. You can reach out to me any way you can find me. So I try to be as accessible as I can, but ultimately, yeah, any way you can find me, I'm reachable.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wrap it up for today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. David, thank you for your time and
Morgan, thank you.
sharing some of your ideas and expertise.
Yeah, absolutely. Always learning. Always happy to learn more. But
I'm
appreciate
really
you
looking
having me.
forward to working with you on the downtown stuff and everything. So cheers one more time
Absolutely.
to commercial real estate in Vero Beach.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.